30th Sunday in Ordinary Time, Cycle B. The community's Action in Solidarity and Association Jesus Solidarity are inviting you to listen to the Living Gospel for October 27. Let us then meditate on the Gospel according to Mark, chapter 10, verses 46 to 52, with commentary from Father Patxi Loidi in the voice of Rosa, Ocampo. Proclamation of the Holy Gospel according to St. Mark. As Jesus was leaving Jericho with his disciples and a sizable crowd, Bartimaeus, a blind man, the son of Timaeus, sat by the roadside begging. On hearing that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, "Jesus, Son of David, have pity on me." And they rebuked him, telling him to be silent. But he kept calling out all the more, "Son of David, have pity on me." Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." So they called the blind man, saying to him, "Take courage, get up, Jesus is calling you." He threw aside his cloak, sprang up, and came to Jesus. Jesus said to him in reply, "What do you want me to do for you?" The blind man replied to him, "Master, I want to see." Jesus told him, "Go your way, your faith has saved you." Immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus on the way. The Word of God. Father Patxi's commentary. Best regards, friends of the Living Gospel. This passage is special. It belongs to the second part of the Gospel of Mark, in which Jesus goes to Jerusalem and dedicates himself to the people closest to him because they do not understand him. This passage is deliberately placed at the end of that section as a conclusion. This structure makes the passage highly symbolic. What does the blind Bartimaeus represent? The people closest to Jesus who are blind and deaf. This gospel tells us repeatedly that they did not understand, they were afraid, and did not dare to ask him. In chapter 9, verse 12, and chapter 10, verse 32. And Bartimaeus, sitting by the road, what does it symbolize? That the disciples go with Jesus, but they are out of his way, and they do not see. They have sat on the ground stalling. In the previous passage, last Sunday, James and John have an excessive ambition despite the repeated teachings of Jesus. And it's the same with the rest of the group. But they love Jesus and do not leave the group. They want to see but cannot. They have a triumphant Messiah in their mind, and they are distressed. This is what the increasing cries of Bartimaeus is expressing. When Jesus calls him, he will say that he wants to see, unlike James and John who wanted the first positions. And Bartimaeus makes two very expressive acts. He throws aside his cloak, that is to say, he frees himself from the ties of the past and the old mentality, and he leaps towards Jesus. Jesus has heard his cries and felt compassion. He wants to help him, and he will do it with a question full of tenderness. "What do you want me to do for you?" The blind man also responds full of tenderness, as seen in the original word Rabboni, which is both solemn and tender, "my teacher" or "my dear teacher." It is the same word used by Mary Magdalene, one of the greatest disciples in the resurrection. It's in John chapter 20, verse 16. Jesus will give Bartimaeus what he longs for, and Jesus will tell him the greatest words, "Go, your faith has saved you." And Bartimaeus, reborn with eyes that see, follows Jesus along the way. Precious allusion, which means the way of Jesus. Bartimaeus has accepted his gospel of humble service. This is what happened to the disciples in the resurrection of Jesus. Until that moment, they loved him, but they did not see. Impressive passage. When you see the symbolisms, it is like a summary of the whole gospel. Hopefully, we look for and receive the same gift, because faith is a gift from God that is craved, sought, and received freely with a free and conscious decision, giving our hand to Jesus. Prayer. Prayer by the roadside. From the depths I cry to you, Lord, from the abyss. It is the unenlightened cry of who is in your group, but does not walk with you. He has fallen on the edge of the path, cloaking himself with mantle of the ancient testament, waiting for the Messiah who was not, without finding the Messiah that you have been. He opened his eyes, yet does not see, hears your voice, but does not understand your living gospel. Isn't that prison ours? We are the poor blind by the roadside, waiting without hope on the cold rock, waiting for some sisterly voice announcing that you have already come, that you are passing by our side, that you have heard our screams and you are calling us. What a privilege of mine when I tear off the old cloak that covered my eyes and my ears, and with a huge jump I fly through the air to you. When later I walk with you, Lord, give me the sight of the lynx and a friend's heart to see the people knocked down and the fallen bodies, to lift souls in darkness at the edge of the ravine and light their pupils with your candle, your little candle that does not snuff, and accompany them to dinner of your bread and wine.